Ellen DeGeneres had heard thousands of inspiring stories throughout her career, from tales of overcoming adversity to accounts of extraordinary achievement, but nothing could have prepared her for the afternoon, when what seemed like a routine interview about personal triumph would explode into a complex web of truth, deception, and competing claims that would challenge everything she thought she knew about verifying the authenticity of human stories. What started as a celebration of resilience became a real-time investigation into the ownership of experience and the murky boundaries between inspiration and appropriation. It was a peaceful Thursday afternoon at the Ellen Studios, and the atmosphere was particularly optimistic as they prepared for what was scheduled to be an uplifting episode featuring stories of personal transformation and achievement against the odds. Ellen, wearing a sophisticated burgundy blazer over black pants, was looking forward to interviewing Amanda Foster, a 35-year-old woman whose story of escaping homelessness to become a successful entrepreneur had captured national attention through social media and news coverage. Amanda's story was exactly the kind of inspiring narrative that Ellen loved to feature, someone who had overcome seemingly impossible circumstances through determination, creativity, and sheer force of will. According to her publicity materials, Amanda had been homeless for 3 years after losing her job and apartment, had lived in her car while developing a revolutionary app for connecting homeless individuals with local resources, and had ultimately sold that app for $2.3 million, using the proceeds to start a foundation helping others escape homelessness. Our next guest went from living in her car to becoming a millionaire entrepreneur, Ellen announced to the enthusiastic studio audience. She created an app that's helping homeless people across the country find shelter, food, and job opportunities. Her story proves that sometimes our lowest moments can become the foundation for our greatest achievements. Please welcome Amanda Foster. The audience erupted in warm, supportive applause as Amanda walked onto the stage with confident strides and a bright smile. She was an attractive woman with professionally styled blonde hair and wearing an elegant navy dress that suggested someone who had found significant financial success. Her demeanor was polished and articulate, carrying herself with the poise of someone accustomed to public speaking and media attention. "Amanda, welcome to the show," Ellen said warmly, embracing her guest before they both sat down. "Thank you so much for having me, Ellen. This is such an honor," Amanda replied, her voice smooth and confident. "Tell us about your journey. 3 years ago you were homeless, and now you're a successful entrepreneur. That's an incredible transformation." Amanda's face took on a serious expression as she began sharing her story. "Ellen, 3 years ago, I lost my job as a marketing coordinator due to company downsizing. Within 6 months I had burned through my savings, lost my apartment, and found myself living in my 2010 Honda Civic. That must have been terrifying," Ellen said with genuine empathy. "It was the lowest point of my life," Amanda continued. "I was parking behind different businesses at night, using gym memberships to shower, and relying on food banks and soup kitchens to eat. But during those dark months, I started noticing how difficult it was for homeless people to find and access available resources." Ellen was engaged in the story, nodding with understanding. "So that's where the idea for your app came from." "Exactly. I realized that there were actually a lot of services available, shelters, food programs, job training, but people didn't know how to find them or when they were available. So I started developing an app that would aggregate all these resources in real time." Amanda was speaking with passion and detail, painting a vivid picture of her struggles and ultimate triumph. "I taught myself basic coding using free Wi-Fi at coffee shops and libraries. I survived on instant ramen and determination for months while building the app." The audience was clearly moved by Amanda's story, and Ellen found herself impressed by the woman's resilience and innovation, and the app was successful. "Beyond my wildest dreams," Amanda said with obvious pride. Within a year it was being used in 50 cities. A tech company offered to buy it for $2.3 million, and I used that money to start the Fresh Start Foundation, which provides microloans and housing assistance to people transitioning out of homelessness. Ellen was genuinely inspired by Amanda's story and was about to ask about her foundation work when something unexpected happened. A voice from the audience called out, cutting through the warm atmosphere like a knife, "That's not true." Ellen paused mid-question and looked toward the audience, trying to locate the source of the interruption. In the 6th row, a woman in her early 30s was standing up, her face flushed with emotion and her hands shaking with what appeared to be anger. "Excuse me," Ellen said, looking confused by the sudden outburst. The woman in the audience, who appeared to be of medium height with brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and wearing casual jeans and a sweater, was staring directly at Amanda with unmistakable fury. "I said that's not true," the woman repeated, her voice carrying across the studio. "That's my story she's telling. That's my life, my app, my struggle." The studio fell completely silent as the implications of this accusation settled over the audience. Ellen felt a chill run down her spine as she realized she might be witnessing something unprecedented and deeply disturbing. "Ma'am, what's your name?" Ellen asked, trying to maintain composure while processing this unexpected development. "My name is Lisa Chen, and I am the real creator of the Real Help app," the woman said, her voice growing stronger despite her obvious emotional distress. "I was the one who was homeless for 3 years. I was the one who lived in my car. I was the one who coded that app while surviving on the streets." Ellen looked back at Amanda, who had gone pale and seemed to be struggling for words. "Amanda, do you know this woman?" Amanda shook her head, but Ellen could see panic in her eyes. "I've never seen her before in my life." Lisa Chen was now making her way toward the stage with security personnel moving to intercept her. Ellen made a quick decision. "Let her come down here. I think we need to hear what she has to say." As Lisa approached the stage, Ellen could see the stark contrast between her and Amanda. Where Amanda was polished and professionally dressed, Lisa had the worn, tired appearance of someone who had genuinely struggled financially. Her clothes were clean but obviously inexpensive, and there was a rawness to her demeanor that suggested authentic hardship. "Lisa, you're claiming that Amanda has stolen your story?" Ellen asked, trying to understand the situation. "Not just my story," Lisa said, her voice breaking with emotion. "My entire life. Every detail she just shared, living in a Honda Civic, using gym memberships to shower, developing the app at coffee shops. That's exactly what happened to me." Ellen turned to Amanda, who was sitting rigidly in her chair. "Amanda, how do you respond to these accusations?" "This woman is clearly unstable," Amanda said, but her voice lacked the confidence she had displayed moments before. "She's probably seen the media coverage of my story and is trying to claim credit for my work." Lisa pulled out her phone with trembling hands. "Ellen, I can prove it. I have documentation going back 3 years. I have screenshots of my original app code, emails with potential investors, photos of me living in my car." Ellen felt the weight of the situation pressing down on her. "Lisa, can you show us some of this evidence?" Lisa navigated to her photo gallery and held up her phone, showing images that appeared to be taken inside a car with belongings crammed into every available space. "This is me in 2020, living in my Honda Civic after I lost my apartment." She swiped to another photo, showing a laptop open on a picnic table outside what appeared to be a library. "This is me coding the Real Help app outside the Portland Public Library because they had free Wi-Fi." Ellen examined the photos, noting the timestamp dates and the genuine wear and exhaustion visible in Lisa's appearance in the images. "Amanda, do you have similar documentation from your experience?" Amanda hesitated for a moment too long. "I didn't think to document everything. I was focused on survival, not creating evidence." Lisa continued, her voice gaining strength. "Ellen, I can tell you details about the app development that only the real creator would know. I can explain the specific coding challenges I faced, the user interface decisions I made, the beta testing process." "Amanda, can you explain those same technical details?" Ellen asked. Amanda's composure was cracking visibly. The technical aspects aren't as important as the impact the app has had. Ellen was beginning to sense that something was seriously wrong with Amanda's story. Lisa, you mentioned that you sold the app. What happened with that? I didn't sell it for $2.3 million, Lisa said bitterly. I sold it for $75,000 to a company called TechBridge Solutions. I was desperate for money and didn't have the resources to fight for a better deal. Ellen's investigation instincts were fully engaged now. And what happened to the app after you sold it? TechBridge was bought by a larger company 6 months later, Lisa explained. The new owners marketed the app more aggressively and eventually sold it again. I think that's where Amanda comes into the picture. Somehow she's connected to the companies that profited from my work. Ellen turned to Amanda with growing suspicion. Amanda, what exactly is your connection to the app? Did you actually develop it yourself? Amanda was visibly struggling now, her polished exterior completely gone. Ellen, the story is more complicated than I initially presented. How is it complicated? Ellen pressed. I was part of the marketing team for the company that acquired the app, Amanda admitted reluctantly. I helped develop the success story for media purposes. The studio gasped audibly as the audience realized what was being revealed. Ellen felt a mixture of anger and sadness as she understood the scope of what had happened. Amanda, are you saying that you took Lisa's real story and presented it as your own for marketing purposes? It started as a composite story, Amanda said desperately. We combined elements from several users' experiences to create a compelling narrative for investors and media. But you presented it as your personal experience, Ellen pointed out. You've been giving interviews, speaking at conferences, building a career on Lisa's actual life story. Lisa was crying now, but her tears seemed to be a mixture of vindication and exhaustion. Ellen, I've been watching her get credit for my life for months. I've seen her on TV, in magazines, being celebrated as this inspiring entrepreneur while I'm still struggling to get back on my feet. Ellen felt a deep sense of responsibility as she realized the gravity of what was unfolding on her stage. Lisa, what impact has this had on you? It's been devastating, Lisa admitted. Not just financially but emotionally. Watching someone else live your life, get credit for your struggles and achievements, being celebrated for your pain, it's like being erased. Ellen turned to Amanda with barely controlled anger. Amanda, how do you justify what you've done? I never meant for it to go this far, Amanda said, now crying herself. It started as a marketing strategy, but the story resonated with people, and opportunities kept coming and I got caught up in it. Ellen addressed the audience and cameras directly. Folks, what we're witnessing here is something that unfortunately happens more often than we'd like to think. Stories of struggle and triumph get appropriated, repackaged, and sold by people who never lived those experiences. She looked back at Lisa. Lisa, what do you need right now? What would make this right? I want people to know the truth, Lisa said simply. I want credit for my work and my story, and I want to be able to move forward without watching someone else profit from my pain. Ellen made a decision that felt both just and necessary. Lisa, I want to invite you back to the show next week for a full interview about your real story, your actual story, and I want to help you get the recognition and opportunities that should have been yours from the beginning. She turned to Amanda with disappointment. Amanda, I think you need to take responsibility for what you've done and work to make this right. Amanda nodded miserably. I'll issue a public statement correcting the record, and I'll work with Lisa to transfer any opportunities or speaking engagements to her. The segment ended with Ellen walking Lisa off the stage while Amanda sat alone, the weight of her deception finally exposed. The audience was left in stunned silence, processing what they had witnessed. 1 week later, Lisa returned to Ellen's show for a proper interview about her real experiences, her actual app development, and her ongoing work helping homeless individuals. The contrast between her authentic, humble presentation and Amanda's polished performance was stark and powerful. Lisa, how does it feel to finally tell your real story? Ellen asked during the follow-up interview. It feels like I can breathe again, Lisa replied. For months I felt invisible, like my life didn't matter because someone else was living it publicly. Now I feel like I exist again. What's next for you? I'm working on a new app focused on job placement for people transitioning out of homelessness, Lisa said. And I'm speaking at conferences about both the technology and the importance of authentic storytelling in social entrepreneurship. Ellen smiled with genuine warmth. Lisa, your real story is so much more powerful than any fictional version could ever be. The episode became a watershed moment for discussions about story ownership, authenticity in media, and the exploitation of marginalized experiences. It led to Ellen implementing more rigorous fact-checking procedures for guest stories and sparked broader conversations about ethical storytelling in the age of social media. What Lisa taught us, Ellen reflected months later, is that everyone's story belongs to them. When we appropriate someone else's experiences, we don't just steal their narrative, we steal their dignity, their achievement, and their right to be the author of their own life. Because sometimes the most important truth emerges when someone has the courage to stand up and reclaim what was always theirs. And sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that almost got stolen, but fought their way back to their rightful owner.